Good afternoon, Year 4. It is time for your IPC lesson, and today we are looking at Egyptian society, different groups of people that existed during the ancient Egyptian times. First of all, we have got our learning objective, and that is to create a social pyramid relating to Egyptian hierarchy. Now, you might think, I don't know those words. We will get to that. Don't you worry. We next have, I can define what hierarchy means in my own words. Key bit, in my own words. I can create a social pyramid for the ancient Egyptians and draw different people in their positions. And finally, I can write an explanation sentence for each person within the pyramid. Okay, so that is our learning objective and steps to success for today. What is hierarchy? That is the first question we must look to address. Hierarchy is a way of ranking and organizing things or people. Beneath the top of the hierarchy, each part of it is below some other part. This turns out to be like a pyramid. So here you can see what it would look like, a pictorial depiction of hierarchy. So this is an image of what hierarchy might look like. It is a system to decide who can make decisions and who is forced to comply with those decisions. So who do we think would be making the decisions? Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Who do you think would be making the decisions in this pyramid? Where would they be placed? The person that makes the decisions. Pause the video and very quickly either tell yourself or tell an adult, where do you think the person who makes those decisions, the big decisions, would be placed in this pyramid? This can also be called a social pyramid. So this image here can also be called a social pyramid. But as you can see, this one is blank. This one is empty. Okay, we haven't got the information in it yet. Moving on, as I've said, hierarchy can be the ranking of things as well as people. So let's have a quick look at what the hierarchy of my things in my life might look like. Right, I hope you can see my brand new toy, something I'm very happy with, my new whiteboard at home. So here we have Mr. McAllis's things, the things that I'm going to put into order of importance. Now, we've got to think, where would the most important thing go in our pyramid? Now, it's going to be at the top. So I'm going to put here, most important. So if at the top we've got the most important, we can know then at the bottom it would be the least. Doesn't mean it's not important, but in my pyramid it would be the least important. Now I've only got 4 layers to my pyramid because this one is just to show you, okay, but you might have more layers in yours when you think of yourself, and you also might need more layers when it comes to doing your Egyptian pyramid. So if I think about what's important in my life, I'm looking at things, not necessarily only people, but I am going to have some people for my first one. My first one is going to be family and friends. So I've got family and friends. So that's the most important thing. It's the thing right at the top of my pyramid. Next, I am going to go for something that you should like. I'm going to go for teaching. Teaching, something really important to me, and I'm really enjoying it, and I love teaching you. So teaching is going to be my next one. Next one, I'm going to go with football. Something that's very important to me. I absolutely love football. Doesn't matter whether your team win or lose or draw, I still love football. And then finally, I'm going to go with foods, and I'm going to put in brackets new, because as you all know, I'm newly a vegetarian, so I'm getting lots of different foods. I'm really enjoying that. So this is a depiction, a picture of my pyramid of what is important to me. Now, you don't need to do one for yourself. You can if you want to, but I just want you to think what would be included in yours. What would go at the top? What would go at the bottom? Now, interestingly, most of you know that I don't like spiders. Spiders would not be included in my pyramid because these are the things that I do like. So even though food is at the bottom, it's still important to me. So pause the video and just have a think. If you want to do your own version of this, you can. Have a think. Now let's have another look at hierarchy, but using a popular film. Now you may have seen this film, you may not have, but we're going to have a look at the hierarchy of people, okay, or characters within this film. So the film is The Lion King. Okay, I know many of you in my class have seen it. If you haven't, it's a fantastic film. It's one of my absolute favorites. And we're going to have a look at the hierarchy, okay, the decision makers who are at the top and the people that have to live by the decisions at the bottom of The Lion King. So in this film, The Lion King, there is a definite hierarchy with different animals in charge of one another. Each animal plays their part within the kingdom of Pride Rock. So that's the name of the place, Pride Rock. Whether you know the film or not, try and think about who is in charge in this film, especially at the beginning. Okay, so think about the title of the film and maybe pause this video. You don't need to draw anything or write anything, but just think, who do you think is in charge? And in 5 seconds, we'll have a look. Let's have a look. So what I've got here, I've got my social pyramid here at the top, which is the most important, most powerful person, and that is also the decision maker, the person that makes those key decisions. And as we filter down towards the bottom, this is someone or a group of people, group of animals in this example, that will have to abide by the decisions made above them. So Mufasa is the king of Pride Rock, he's the king of this film. And then next here, we've got Simba, who's heir to the throne, which means if Mufasa was no longer king, no spoilers here, Simba would be the king of Pride Rock. We have Sarabi, the mother of Simba, must protect Simba. On the next layer down, we've got Scar, second in line to the throne. So if it's not going to be Simba, if Simba's no longer around, it will be Scar. And then we have Zazu, which is the advisor to the king, the person or bird in this example that gives the king advice on how to run. Next, we have the lionesses, so all the female lions. Underneath that, we've got the other animals in the kingdom. Okay, think about what power they may have in decision making. Might be very little. And then at the bottom, we've got the hyenas, bottom of this social pyramid. Now, this is just in the example of this film, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that this is true of real life, okay? But in this film, we've got the hyenas at the bottom of our pyramid. Now, we've got the same film, Lion King, but this is just a pictorial example, so we can see those characters again. So we've got the king. This king is in charge, okay? This person is the person that makes all the decisions that affect all the way down. Next, again, we've got Simba, again, the heir to the throne, and Sarabi, the queen, so very closely linked to that king. Underneath, we've got Scar. I know there's a few in my class that are very fond of Scar, second in line to the throne, so we can only get to be the king if Simba's no longer there, and then Zazu helps the king run the kingdom. There we have our lionesses. Here we have all the other animals in the kingdom, which include Timon and Pumbaa. Again, if you're a fan of the film, you'll know who they are. And at the bottom, again, we have the hyenas, and they rely on all of the others above and their decision to survive. Another word I've got here is that they serve, okay? They have to serve somebody above them. The fact that the hyenas could eat these animals is irrelevant because in this film, they are the bottom of the pack. So now what we're going to do, we're going to look at some different groups of people who existed in ancient Egyptian times, because your task is going to be to put them into the correct social pyramid. They are not in descending order, so it's up to you to note them down and decide where you think they should be on the social pyramid. So my advice to you is each one that I show you to write down either their name, and just make a little note of the type of thing that they do or the thing that they're in charge, because you're going to need to think at the end, where should they go on my social pyramid? There are 9 types of people in total, but you may decide that some groups should be on the same layer of the pyramid. Okay, so you might have a 9-layer pyramid, or you might only have, for example, a 5-layer pyramid in which multiple different groups are on the same layer. It's up to you. We're going to start off with the pharaohs. Now, the pharaohs are the kings of Egypt. Okay, the kings and the queens of Egypt. Now, I have put these first, and they are at the top of our pyramid. They are the key decision makers, and they are the only one that I've deliberately left in the correct place. Okay, so as we roll through these, the others might not be in descending order going down. So you're going to need to think, because I'm interested in your opinion, what you think, and how you can justify where people are. Okay, pharaohs were the kings or queens of Egypt, the most rich and powerful, who decided everything about the country. They were almost seen as gods. The nobles. The nobles ran the provinces of Egypt and made the local laws, so they were in charge of the different areas of Egypt. This job was passed down through families. So if this gentleman here had a son, he would pass his job down to his son. The scribes. Scribes were the only people who could read and write. Now we need to think, is that an important feature? They recorded the events of Egypt using hieroglyphics. Ooh, hieroglyphics. You're going to learn about hieroglyphics in art this week. And as you can see, if you look at my mouse here, behind this image, we've got some hieroglyphic pictures. So that's what the scribes are. The viziers or viziers. The viziers were the second most powerful people in Egypt. That's a clue as to where they should be going on your pyramid. The viziers were the second most powerful people in Egypt. They helped the pharaohs rule and were high judges in court. They were the people to talk to if you needed to speak with the pharaoh. So if you couldn't speak to the pharaoh, you'd go to one of their viziers. Think about where they may go. The soldiers. Soldiers were seen as heroes for protecting the country and were rewarded with land and riches. Okay, so make sure you note them down. Think about where you might put them at the end. The priests. Priests kept the gods happy. They worked in temples and carried out ceremonies and rituals for people. The slaves. Slaves were usually not Egyptian, as they were captured during wars. They had no rights or property of their own. They worked for rich families and the pharaoh. They would be killed if their master died, so that they could look after them in the afterlife or after their master died. So again, think, where do you think the slaves may go on your social pyramid? Craftsmen. Craftsmen were skilled people who made things like pottery, cloth, jewelry, shoes, leather, and statues. Now, if you did our IPC last week, you'll know that they didn't use money in the ancient Egyptian times. They traded things. So craftsmen who can make all of those key things to trade, how important would they be? Would they go above slaves, for example? I'm interested to see what you think. Farmers. Farmers worked on the lands that belonged to the pharaoh. They were paid with food, clothes, and home. They paid their rent, which is the money you have to give someone to stay where you want to live, with the money they made from selling crops. Most ordinary Egyptians were farmers. Okay, so we've done our 9 groups now. Feel free to go back in this video and pause if you need to. That's absolutely no problem. Today's task: create a social pyramid for the ancient Egyptians. So here we have my social pyramid that I've started, and this, excluding the pharaoh at the top, is available on the website. So if you want to use this, you may. Okay, so we've got our pharaoh at the top, and you need to work your way down using your notes as to who is going to go where. So draw or use the pyramid example on the website to create a social pyramid. Make sure you use a ruler. If you do not use the example I provide you and you want to do your own, absolutely fine. Please use a ruler, otherwise it will look a mess. Chili 1. Under the pyramid, write a sentence or two explaining what hierarchy means in your own words. If you need to, rewind the video to get some help with this. Chili 2. Draw pictures of the different types of ancient Egyptians in their correct layers of the social pyramid. For example, pharaohs at the top, because they are the decision makers. And Chile 3. I want you to write a sentence to explain who they are on each layer and why they are where you have placed them. So for example, we know that the pharaoh goes at the top. So you could say the pharaoh goes at the top because they are the key decision maker. They are in charge of Egypt. I want a sentence per one. Okay, so you've got Chile 1, Chile 2, and Chile 3. Get creative with this. I want to see some fantastic drawings. We love creativity in IPC. And all that leaves me to say is send us your work. So every time at the end of every video, we love seeing your work, and it is fantastic to show us during our Zoom calls. But as I say very regularly now, the best way to share your work with the teacher is to make sure you give it to us via our emails, which you can find on our home learning page. Have fun, and I look forward to seeing your work.